I've been going room to room deep cleaning my house after a long bout of illness has left it looking rather revolting, to say the least. But we're getting through it bit by bit with the help of one of my favourite tools, a random generator. I spin a wheel and it tells me what room to clean, and it just helps when you're feeling overwhelmed with choice and you don't know where to start. You'll have already watched me clean 2 rooms so far in part 1, and now we're on to part 2, so let's spin the wheel. And first up, we've got the downstairs toilet, which is one of my favourite rooms in the house to clean. Mainly because it's such a small space and I'm able to get it all done in one go. Most of the time, anyway. Because if you've been watching my other deep cleans recently, I've been having to stop and start a lot, and it's not great for morale. Especially when you've been trying to keep on top of the tidying in between. A prime example of that is sand and paint all over the sink, which you'll see later on. But do you know what that means? It means the kids have been having fun and being creative, and that's the most important thing to me at the minute. For those of you who don't know, the illness I've been struggling with is something called hyperemesis gravidarum, and it's a form of debilitating sickness in pregnancy. Yes, I am pregnant, if the bump hadn't given it away at this point. But yeah, it's just meant that I haven't been able to get as much done as I usually would, and to be honest, I've been feeling pretty worthless. And one of the hardest things to deal with when you're going through hyperemesis, aside from the obvious awful nausea and sickness, is the mental aspect of it all. But anyway, something I've always struggled massively with when it comes to keeping on top of the house is balancing tidying and cleaning. Even when I wasn't poorly, that it's just this never-ending cycle and you can put so much effort into making a room look lovely, only for another room to become messy in the process. I know not everybody has this problem, but for me, it's like juggling loads of balls at once and there's so much going on, and the mess seems to build up so fast, to the point that I feel like I can't keep up with it no matter what I do. And that's all been exacerbated massively by this illness, as you can see by how grubby the house is. This tap, for example, has gone a bit crusty on the underneath, and I tried rinsing it away with water, which didn't work, so I let it sit with some bleach for a while. But back to what I was saying about keeping on top of the home being a massive juggling act, especially with having a limited amount of energy at the minute, because I also have something called hypokalemia, which is low potassium due to being sick. I will stop going on about my multiple ailments at some point, I promise. But if I put my all into one area, even if I wanted to carry on, I just don't have energy left to put into the normal everyday upkeep, if that makes sense. And honestly, most of that upkeep has fallen to Charlie over the last few months, and I've just been doing small bits and bobs where I can. But it's meant that routine has completely gone out of the window. We struggled with routine anyway. And there's no predictability. Some days I can do a decent amount, some days I can't even get out of bed. But this is just what I've got to work with at the minute, and it's not going to be forever. And soon we'll get to meet our lovely new little family member, and it'll all be worth it, I'm sure. But my goodness, it's taught me not to take feeling healthy for granted. To just be able to get up and get started on things you need to get done, or go on a family day out without feeling like you need to get on the floor and lie down, that would be amazing. And yeah, I keep trying to remind myself, and I want to remind you too, whether you're struggling with your health or you're exhausted or burnt out, just do what you can. Even if it seems like such a small thing, that's good enough right now. It's better than doing nothing at all. And yeah, that mentality is why the house is generally tidy, but the cleaning's not been so great. Especially the deep cleans, things you don't notice right away. Because of course you have to tidy first to get to the cleaning, and tidying's what we've been prioritising. Anyway, I'm rambling. I just feel like I have to over-explain things all the time. Because there's a huge number of people who see certain cleaning videos or certain people's circumstances, and they always resort to, there's no excuse for this, or I had X, Y and Z and my house never got to that state. And people aren't trying to give excuses. Well, I guess some people are. But mostly, they're giving reasons. They're telling their story, they're trying to be heard, and they're trying to help other people feel heard as well. Maybe they don't feel like they get to express a lot of that in their daily life. I know it brings me so much comfort knowing I'm not the only person who struggles with the home, and I'm very appreciative of people who are brave enough to be vulnerable and honest. Ignore my cry face here, I was having a little mini wobble that even this room was exhausting me. Before I became pregnant, I'd made so much progress in my home, and I want to be up and about all of the time. I want to be productive. And we're getting there. I think this video was filmed well over a month ago now, pushing 2 months at this point. It was still warm outside at the time. And the shorts I posted just before this video were actually filmed after this. That was where I sorted the whole house using 15-minute timers. I can't recommend timers enough if you've got limited energy or you're feeling overwhelmed or you just don't have that much time. But yeah, there's quite a time delay between filming and actually editing and posting these videos, because obviously I'm trying to prioritise keeping on top of the home and being present with my family right now. I've been stuck in bed for so long, I just want to make up for that time and be with my loved ones as much as possible. And we're having lots of movie evenings, lots of snuggles. It's coming up to cosy season, so we've been watching Strictly Come Dancing and the Great British Bake Off. And yeah, as much as I love making these videos, they are taking a backseat right now. So I'm just putting them out when I can. But I hope that when I do, you're enjoying them and they're giving you some much needed motivation. There's a lot more to come. I've already filmed a few more deep cleans up to this point. And the living room in particular, I'd say is a very satisfying watch. And that's coming up later in this video. Anyway, living with 3 boys, it's always extra important to pull these drawers out and disinfect them as much as possible. So I was wiping each side down with bleach. Let me clarify for the millionth time, I'm not using the same sponge on everything. I'm sure my regular viewers are sick of hearing me say that, but I'm sick of seeing it in the comments. It's not so much here on YouTube. I genuinely have the loveliest community over here. And I feel like you've taken the time to get to know me and my little cleaning quirks. But over on TikTok and Facebook, my videos get pushed more often to people who don't really know me. And if I had £1 for every time someone said, she's cleaning with the same sponge. It's always she as well. It's never, are you using the same sponge? They don't address me, I'm she. And I've had people say that's usually because people don't expect content creators to respond, which is fair enough. We're often not able to respond to everybody. But yeah, it's something I've really noticed over my short career creating these videos. I feel like a huge number of people don't see us as actual human beings living full lives outside of the videos we post. It's more like we're characters in a series and we're not actually on the other end of the screen seeing and a lot of the time internalising and processing the comments made about us. But like I said, it's a small group of comments and I've actually been really lucky with the comments I get in comparison to other creators in the same niche. And the majority of people who follow and watch my videos are the most gorgeous, supportive people. I had such a lovely comment the other day, let me put it on the screen, and honestly, it genuinely made my evening. I guess because I'm pregnant, I'm just extra sensitive at the minute. And I had this one woman commenting how she, shouldn't be having children, and that I need to do better and take better care of the ones I already have. And she was saying that she's college educated and there are a myriad of reasons why people in general shouldn't be having children, but especially people like me, whatever that means. I'm also university educated, but I think people see the size of my home or the way I dress or my accent, and they just make sweeping assumptions. And the decision to have children, especially in today's world, is very complicated and personal, and I won't go into that right now. But my point is, as thick-skinned as some of us are, we're not made of stone. With that particular woman in comment thread, and maybe this is my neurodivergence and my need to be understood and my dislike of things being unjust, I even sought her out on Instagram and I had this whole spiel going into my education level, my financial situation, how much I'd researched childhood psychology and development before I became a parent, and how you can't judge a person based on their very niche cleaning channel. Although I like to think I do give off a very honest and kind impression in these videos. But I said that if she perused my Instagram, she'd see a very different side of me as a mother. And then I thought, Remy, what on earth are you doing? And I deleted it all. Anyway, I picked the last of the herbs and the flowers from the garden because I thought it would give it a really nice touch. And now let's spin the wheel again and see what we got for the next room. So we got the living room next, and this was one of the rooms I'd really been dreading. It's one of my least favourite rooms in the house to clean as it is, but I had it in the back of my mind just how much I needed to get done. Loads of unseen spaces that have been left for way too long, especially behind the settee. So I just thought, right, let's get this one out of the way first and then everything else might seem a bit easier. The back of the settee, like a lot of places in this house, doubles up as hidden storage space. We store Rudy's keyboard and equipment behind here and a few other bits and bobs. And then over time it just becomes ridiculous. And the kids constantly drop stuff and spill drinks in between the gap. So the mess on the floor is a bit trickier to clean. Looking at it now, you'd think it just needs a good sweep. But the bits are actually welded to the floor because of all the sticky drinks that have dried over the last, I'm going to say, 6 months. If I'm honest with myself, it's probably more, but what can I say? If it's out of sight, it's out of mind to me, and in my head, I've got other more important things to be getting on with. But it's got to the point now where I can see all of the bits poking out of the front of the settee, and even when I try and clean and hoover regularly, it just doesn't pick that stuff up. So it was definitely time. So first I went in with a hard bristle brush. We usually use this for the garden, but desperate times, I can't find the scrubbing brush I usually use for the floors. And after I scooped up what I could, this is all going in the bin, by the way, even the little toys and Lego pieces. I just think if none of us have missed the stuff for that amount of time, it's not going to harm us just getting rid of it. And I'm very proud of myself for this, because there was a time I would have gone through it all and picked out every single thing and saved it, but it just adds to the clutter in the house, doesn't it? And we're not doing that. But yeah, after it was all scooped up, I went in with some boiling water and washing up liquid to dislodge all of the sticky bits. And look how well it worked. It was such a satisfying task. And it just goes to show you don't need all of these fancy cleaning products to get a job done. Just some boiling water, a bristle brush and washing up liquid. Anyway, you've probably noticed the part of the wall behind the settee is a completely different colour to the surrounding area. And that's because I started painting in here with wipeable paint, probably over a year ago now. And I decided I hated the way it looked. It was too shiny. And I just stopped painting and never finished it. But the redecorating of this room is finally penciled in. My stepdad's coming over to help in October, and we've got a new colour theme. Going to get a new settee because this one's falling apart. I'll show you that later on. And I think we're going to rearrange everything. So we're going to move the settee to a different wall, get some curtains, and hopefully just revamp it and make it all cosy for baby's arrival. Honestly, I want to redecorate the whole house. My brain is going crazy. But time is ticking by so fast, and I'll just be over the moon if we manage to get this room looking a bit better. I don't know whether it's got something to do with pregnancy hormones, but I just want to get everything done at a time where I can barely walk. And I mean I can barely walk. I never had this in my first 2 pregnancies, and I think it's probably a combination of being older this time round and being quite a bit heavier. But oh my God, it hurts. Even doing the school run, which is about 10 minutes each way, I'm in agony by the time we get home. I've actually been off sick from work since June. That was due to the hyperemesis, but I'm hoping to go back starting with shorter shifts in October, and I honestly don't know how I'm going to manage. My job's really active and you're on your feet for 8 hours straight, so it's definitely going to be interesting. But I'm just yearning for normality. I know it's weird to hear people wanting to go back to work, but I actually really enjoy my job. I enjoy the social aspect of it. And for working mums, a lot of the time it's a bit of an escape and it's a time to talk to other adults, and yeah, I like being active. I've just been ill for so long, I just can't wait to get out of this Groundhog Day situation. Anyway, I gave the skirting board a quick wipe down, and that is the first and most daunting job out of the way. I was pushing the settee back myself because there was no one home at this point to do it for me, and I was not waiting around. It's not as heavy as it looks. After that was back in place, I scooted round to the front to clear up the bits I'd missed. No matter what with this settee, there's always more bits. Mostly Lego, and that's destined for the bin as well. We've got infinite Lego in this house. And I was on a mission. Nothing was holding me back, especially not washing singular pieces of Lego. Next job on my list was to give the actual settee a good clean. When I'm cleaning the settee, I like to use the pink stuff power drops because I just think it smells incredible. I don't like to use things like Zaflora where the kids and especially the dog are going to go, because as lovely as it smells, it's not the healthiest. I love it, but I use it sparingly. I think you can get a pet-friendly Zaflora, but I'm not a fan of the smell of that one. Speaking of pets, when we get our forever home, I'm getting a hairless cat and some ducks, and I'm so excited. I'm going to hatch the ducks myself because I did that when I was a teenager, and it was the most gorgeous experience. So I'm going to take you along for the journey. I especially want ducks because they're natural pest control for the garden, and I'll hopefully be filming a lot of new garden content too. There's just so much I'm looking forward to. Someone had a sneaky scribble on the settee here. But yeah, you guys in this channel have honestly changed my life in ways I can't express enough gratitude for. When I first started making videos, we were living paycheck to paycheck, and I spoke about that a lot. Here's what I mean about the settee being on its last legs. But yeah, the thought of having our own forever home was just a dream. And now it's almost a reality 2 years in. Our situation is so different now, and I'm just so grateful. A lot of people have been asking if we're finding out the gender of the new baby, and we're not going to this time. It was very tempting at the last scan, but I just think this is probably going to be our last baby. I always wanted 4 children ever since I was a little girl, and never say never, but this has been so hard on my body. So we just thought how nice it'd be to have a surprise this last time round. We'll be over the moon either way, but do you know what? We told the sonographer we didn't want to know, so she told us to look away when she was scanning the bladder and stuff. And then later on, I am certain I heard her say baby's got her head pointing down, and I thought, she's had a slip of the tongue. And then after that, she went, he's got long legs. So I don't know if she was trying to just throw us off, or she did have a slip of the tongue the first time and was trying to cancel that out. Who knows? My mum's so irritated we're waiting though. She's desperate to know. She keeps buying girls' clothes, like really lovely velvet dresses and pumpkin-themed dresses and headbands, because she's a Halloween nut. And I'm just like, stop it. Wait until we find out. I've just bought loads of really colourful bits and bobs and baby grows because I don't think it matters. Bird blessed us with some drop-ins on the window there. Nice. But yeah, who's to say certain people can't wear certain colours? I just think it's so silly. Same with toys or hobbies. I'm going to foster my children's likes and hobbies no matter what they are. I've had comments on here before saying, why have you bought your sons a play kitchen? Because I'm hoping that one day they'll be functional human beings that can cook their own meals? Strange thing to say. I'm a firm believer people are who they are very early on, regardless of nurture or influence. My eldest, he loved superheroes and theatrics and drawing before he could even talk. My second loves cars and Lego, and he can sit there building these elaborate cities out of Lego all day. Me, when I was a kid, I was obsessed with nature, collecting bugs, and drawing monster and alien families. I hated dolls and dresses and Barbies. I remember there being this one baby born that I got when I was a kid, and every night I used to stick it into the spare room because I was scared of it, and it'd always appear back in my bedroom the next day. Thanks, Mum. But yeah, we are who we are, and the fact that we're all so different is something to be celebrated. Anyway, got the outside of the windows done and managed to stretch the hosepipe through the entire house to rinse off the suds. I live right next to a busy bus stop, and it's really not fun doing this with an audience, especially because I have to stand on a chair to reach. Had to be done though, it was looking terrible. Not as terrible as the upstairs windows though. I really need to hire someone to come and clean them, and there are bird droppings all over them as well. I've decided I look like Danny DeVito in these trousers, specifically as Penguin from Batman. That's who I'm being for Halloween, if I can be bothered to dress up this year. My mum's having a Halloween party at hers, so I'm either going to go as Penguin or a pumpkin. Classic pregnant Halloween costume, a pumpkin, isn't it? Anyway, I was just using washing up liquid again to clean these windows. Apparently washing up liquid was my go-to on this day. I find it works really well when you're cleaning glass though. And what are we thinking about some big curtains on this window? I feel like it's just going to make it look so much more cosy in the evenings. I feel like curtains are dying out in general. I remember it being a ritual for my grandma. Every evening when it started to get dark, she'd pull the curtains across and put all of the cosy lamps on. This room just doesn't feel like a cosy space to me, and I feel like a living room should be cosy. It's just a strange layout. I never know what to do with it. No matter where we put the settee, it looks weird and feels wrong. I'd love to see how everyone else on my street have decorated theirs, because all of the rooms are pretty much the same. And I could just go and ask, but I think that'd be a bit weird. Can I come and look at your living room? Funny thing is, they're all so lovely, they'd all say yes if I asked. But yeah, it's definitely time for a change. And of course, I'll be filming the decorating process. I said in the video before this, I'm not going to be decorating for Halloween this year, because I just think it'll be too much for me, and I want to focus on repainting the rooms and preparing the house. Crossing out the blinds, I'm not doing that. Overcommitted with this list as usual. And yeah, I'm a person who struggles with transitions and multitasking, and so I can really only focus on one thing at a time, otherwise I get really overwhelmed. So if it's decorated for Halloween, painting and rearranging the living room will just be out of the question, and then it will be set back, and before you know it, the baby will be here. But we've still got loads of fun Halloween stuff planned, so I'll do my usual autumn vlog for those of you who enjoy watching that. It will just be minus the decorating and window art this year, but I'll be back at it next year. With a new little addition to the family as well, so there'll probably be a lot of day in the lifestyle cleaning vlogs and all of that good stuff as I navigate becoming a mum of 3. Of course, I'll still be making my body double tidying content for neurodivergent folk and the occasional free clean when I can as well. It's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Anyway, now for the huge task of hoovering and cleaning these floors. I find this kind of flooring so difficult to clean because it's actually like a lino material and it's got these really deep ridges. So dust and dirt really gets ingrained in it, and so I feel like whenever I hoover, and especially when I mop, it just barely touches the surface. Even with the scrubbing brush, you have to brush against the grain and then in another direction to feel like you've really made a difference. Doesn't help either that the floor's brown, so you can't really tell if you've done a good job, you just have to guess. Someone wedged a mouldy sausage roll under the table. Well, I guess it wasn't mouldy at the time, but that's lovely. But yeah, the cleanliness of the living room floor, I usually base it off, and I know this is gross, but I base it off the colour of people's socks when they've been walking around the house all day. If the socks aren't pristine, I've not managed to clean it properly. To make sure I've done a thorough job this time, I'm doing it in sections. Like I did behind the settee, I'm doing behind the table now, and then I'll get some other jobs done while that dries and then go back to another section of the floor. Just breaks up what I find to be an extremely monotonous and unrewarding job. Something that is rewarding though is cleaning these doors, because you can really tell the difference when it's done. Shame it doesn't last 5 seconds in this house, but I'm going to enjoy it while it does. This is the door to the hand washing sink though. Well, it is for the kids anyway. So when they've been painting or eating or playing in the sandpit, they like to wash their hands in that sink. I guess it makes sense because it's lower down and more accessible, but it makes for a very crusty door and door handle at the end of every day. These skirting boards I have no excuse for. They're not even hidden behind anything, and I've just been walking past them thinking, sort that when I feel better. Charlie, I don't think he will have even noticed them. Too far below his eye line, but today's the day. To be honest, even underneath the dirt, the walls and skirting boards just need sanding and repainting. But I can make it look moderately better at least in the meantime. Probably could have done with dusting this before going in with a wet wipe, but never mind. I never remember. Anyway, I've got a question for parents, even though I've already had 2 children myself. What week did you start buying the important stuff, like the car seat and the cot and all of that? You know, the big stuff. Because as much as I'm feeling the need to get stuff done around the house, I just feel like I'm too relaxed about getting the stuff this time round. I don't want to get things too early, but then I don't want to be a last-minute Larry and be all panicky at the end. I've always been one of those people who pack the hospital bag at the last minute, but for this stuff, for me, I feel like 30 weeks is a good week. But then you never know what's going to happen. My due date's right around the New Year time, well, a few weeks after, so we've also got to think about Christmas presents for the kids and how much everything's going to cost all together. So it might be more sensible to spread everything out from now, but it all just seems so close and so far away at the same time. Anyway, someone had gotten double-sided sticky tape all over the floor. I say someone, it was Rudy, because he uses it for his cardboard creations. Had to peel that off by hand because the scrubbing brush and the mop didn't do a thing. And then I went round and did all of the skirting boards. I was on a roll this day. I really wasn't expecting to get as much as this done all in one day. But I just kept thinking it could be days and days, even weeks before you feel this well again. So let's try and push through and finish the whole room. You'd already seen me cross the blinds off though. I know my limits and it would have taken all of my time up. I get too focused on things like that and making every bit of it look perfect. And it's such a finicky job. So I'm saving the blinds for a day I've got less to do. Walls, as usual, were ridiculously grubby and this small sponge just wasn't cutting it. I was just making it look like a giant slug had been slithering wherever I was wiping. Really needed the flash mop for a job like this, and I gave up halfway through. But if you want to know how effective wipeable paint is, there you go. Next, I moved on to the radiator, and at this point, Charlie was home, the kids were home, and my mum and stepdad had popped round to help build a lid for the sandpit, so everyone else was in the garden, and I was trying to rush through everything else I had left to do before dinner. My mum had bought me these gorgeous flowers from her allotment. Look how beautiful they are. Grown them all herself, bless her. I'm still waiting for her to make a channel about her allotment because I think so many people would enjoy watching that. And she could teach so much about growing flowers and growing your own food and timings and the seasons. Maybe when she's retired. She's still working full-time as a paramedic at the minute, so starting a channel is very time-consuming. But yeah, I was desperate to just have a cosy evening and a movie night in a nice clean room. So I was trying to rush through and get the rest of the floor mopped and dried because at this point, the kids were trying to run in onto the wet floor every 5 seconds and I only had a few more just hang on till the floor's dried left in me. It's like the memory gets erased every time they leave the room. Anyway, floor's looking okay, isn't it? Aside from the stains. I really was feeling exhausted at this point though and my back was in bits. I ended up having to sit down on the settee while I was finishing the mopping. This is what I mean about going back to work though. How am I going to do it if I can't even finish mopping without sitting down? This is what worries me as well about getting the house done and all of the bits and bobs for baby later down the line. If I'm struggling now, how am I going to be when my bump's even bigger and I'm struggling to sleep and I'm panicking a bit. One of the things I always find funny is when people say, if you're tired now, wait until baby comes. It's a different kind of tired. Newborn tired I can cope with, and you're filled with all of the happy hormones and just so happy to be there. Pregnancy tired? No. Obviously, it goes without saying that that's not a universal experience and it's different for everybody, but for me, the two just aren't comparable. I will say though, that first night in the hospital, and I know it's different in other parts of the world, but in the UK, once you've had your baby, you all get put onto a shared ward. So there's loads of mums and babies, and when one baby cries, it wakes up all of the other babies and you don't get much sleep at all. And if you want to go to the toilet, you have to kind of leave your baby in their little cot next to your bed, and I do not like that at all. I wanted my babies with me 24/7. With Rudy, I had to stay in the hospital for about a week because there were some complications. With Ike, we were only there one night, so I'm hoping it's the same this time round. Fingers crossed. Anyway, now to make everything cosy. I had multiple cinnamon candles ready. We had a pizza on the way because I did not feel like cooking after all of this. And Charlie didn't feel like cooking after work either, and he'd just been building a massive giant lid in the garden. Had one of my favourite ever spooky films on, Addams Family Values. Mushroom came in to inspect everything. I think that tail wag means she approves. Gave the cushions a nice spray with a spray I got from Ragdale Spa. And it was finally time to chill. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching today. I'll be back with part 3 soon, and I will see you very soon.